Welcome, everyone. I'm Marikita Solis, the live stream host of all-creatures.org. All-creatures.org was founded in 1998 and is a leading resource for faith-based animal rights veganism. Led by our executive director, Tams Nicholson, we provide free resources for people seeking to live compassionately towards all creatures. Our extensive library includes vegan sermons and commentaries, animal rights strategies, action alerts, events, and works by various vegan authors. We also sponsor websites for animal rights organizations. Our mission is to unite compassionate individuals worldwide who honor the dignity of all creatures. So, thank you for joining us today. We're very honored to welcome Forrest Tierce. Forrest is a passionate advocate for animals and Mother Earth, of course, and compassionate living. A dedicated vegan for 17 years, he draws from 2 decades of Buddhist practice across multiple traditions with a deep commitment to the heart of the Buddhist teaching, especially the 5 precepts, as guiding principles for compassionate and ethical living. His professional background includes personal training, sales, and most recently, serving as an interpretive Park Ranger from the National Park Service. He also brings experience in animal liberation activism and environmental education. Forrest currently serves as the U.S. Project Director for Dharma Voices for Animals, where he speaks and presents on the powerful connections between animal agriculture, spiritual values, and ecological sustainability, encouraging others to live in alignment with compassion for all beings. So welcome, Forrest. I'm excited that you are here with us today. And, well, where are you joining us from?
Well, first off, yes, thank you, Marikita, so much for inviting me to come on and share a little bit. I'm really grateful and honored to be here. And thank you for what you do for the vegan movement and for all creatures. What a great title. So I'm currently hanging at a friend's house outside of near Placerville, California, just east of Sacramento a little bit. My wife and I are van lifers, and we are getting a new van built right now. So we have been doing that for the last 5 years, and we're getting a new van. We've been waiting anxiously for our new van to arrive. So that's a whole other story about being nomadic. It's been really cool. So, but yeah, currently in California. California is our home base. And so, yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's wonderful that you're here. I'm excited to talk about Buddhism and spirituality. And let us know who's watching, where you're joining from, and get your questions and comments in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer them. And, I'd love it if you would start us off with a little grounding exercise for us.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in Buddhism, meditation is one of the foundational practices. And I often begin my day with a little thought life. I prayer to the Buddhas, whatever you want to say. So, I mean, I could do something really simple and stopping to breathe for a moment. So this is kind of something I've just kind of put together through my practice through the years. So Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, please guide us today and help us to remember that we're here to help others and help all beings. Help us to connect with the love in our heart and shine our light so bright, and to remember that we are not here to get anything. We're here to give ourselves for the benefit of all beings. And maybe we could just take a moment and take a couple deep breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Last thing I'll say is I always ask to help me focus my mind on all the positive and beautiful things in this world, and to let go of any negativity that my mind may concoct today. I know that my mind is sometimes out to get me, and it cannot be trusted. So I try to focus my mind on the positive things. And it's one of the most foundational teachings in Buddhism, is that our life becomes what our thinking is. So as our thinking is, so does our life become. So if I'm thinking I live in a hostile, negative, dark world, I will create that world with my mind. If I think I live in a peaceful, loving world and everything is going well for me, then that's the world I will create. That's the foundational, very, very beginning teachings of the Buddha in the Dhammapada, is the power of the mind. So it's not easy to do that in this world. Reading the news today and understanding what's happening with animals is just, it's really kind of overwhelming. So I need this practice personally just to stay positive in a world that is very dark, and the Buddha did say, in this dark world, few can see. So I'm grateful that I've been able to clear the mud away from my eyes and I can see clearly what's happening. And it's a gift to be given this sensitivity to the world and to have these desires to want to care and have compassion in my heart. It's even though we suffer sometimes because of watching the suffering of others, the Buddha says we suffer much less than those who are fully involved in creating suffering. So having compassion is much easier than being one who is out there creating the suffering. So so that's just a little thing to start us off. I can get going with Buddhism and animals and veganism. So
Yeah. Well, here, first I want to know. That was beautiful. And thank you for that. I really appreciate it, getting grounded. So I want to know where did this journey your veganism journey, and where did that start?
Yeah. So I've been vegan for 17 years. It'll be 18 years in September. My vegan anniversary is the middle of September. To tell how I became vegan, I have to, say I grew up in a completely carnist culture. I grew up in Texas. My granddad was famous for his barbecue. I would eat all of the stuff I could eat, and grew up in a hunting culture. I grew up duck hunting, going deer hunting. I worked at a barbecue house when I was in high school. And I had my sister was vegetarian for a brief period, and I made fun of her. I said all the things that people say, and grew up, just in that culture of just what I was brainwashed into thinking by everyone else. But it's interesting because as a kid, I was terrified. I had a whole collection of farm animals, and I was really scared at the idea of eating a cow. And I had a plastic cow that I carried with me everywhere as like a little safety thing. And I would not eat hamburgers for years. And I finally got peer pressured into eating burgers. And, it's interesting to think about, like, I have that love for animals as a child, and I didn't want to go to McDonald's when everyone would go to McDonald's because I knew they were eating animals there. But I was just slowly conditioned to not think about it, I guess. And it's interesting. We have friends now that are raising vegan children, and, you tell a child that you have to kill an animal to eat it, and they're often like, well, I don't want to do that. Some amazing little vegan activists that I've seen, young kids. Who knows what would have happened had I been presented with the truth as a child rather than lied to, but it was what I was told. But I became sensitive to that, and I got on the spiritual path I kind of hit a emotional and physical and spiritual bottom, and started seeking spirituality in the year 2000. And a few years after that, I was in another dark spot, hitting an emotional, really painful point. And a friend gave me a book from the Dalai Lama, and I immediately fell in love with the teachings of the Buddha. The book was about the practice of metta, which is first sending love and compassion to your own deepest inner being, and then sending that out to all beings. You go through a process of sending love to those you love, sending love to those you don't know, like you're indifferent to, then you send love to those who you could be negative towards. And then you bring yourself and all beings together and send love to everybody. And it's a really powerful practice. And I thought right from the start, I can't do this because I'm not vegetarian or vegan or whatever that I thought was. But a couple of years later, I was attending a spiritual center in Los Angeles called Agape. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. And he is a powerful example of a spiritual being on this planet. And he was talking about eating the light, not eating the darkness. And he would invite everyone to go out to eat vegan food after. And it's a non-denominational spiritual gathering where he pulls from many different teachings. And then at the same time, I had a friend who was a hardcore vegan who was telling me, I was talking about the trees because I love the forests and when they cut down the old growth redwood trees. And he said, that's how I feel He said, when you see a tree getting cut down, that's how I feel about when I see an animal being killed. And it really hit me like, wow, dude, I'm like upset about trees. And this guy's talking, he's transferring that same love to animals. And I love animals. And I was in solar energy sales, and I told him I was an environmentalist. He told me I was a phony environmentalist because I ate animals. Oh man, what a good friend, right? This is in 2007. He really called me out. And I was eating a turkey burger, and I looked at my little dog laying on the ground, and I was eating a turkey burger, looking at my dog, and I was like, there's no difference between the animal on my plate and my dog. They both have feelings and nervous systems. And I went to a meditation that night and at Agape, and I had just eaten some tuna because I wasn't there yet. And I was sitting in meditation at Agape when it was in Culver City, and it felt like I also grew up fishing and caught a lot of fish and killed a lot of fish. And I had the feeling of a fish in my stomach trying to get free from my stomach. It was wiggling and writhing, and I was freaking out. And I came home with tears in my eyes, and I told my wife, Alexandra, I'm going to be vegan. And she was like, what are you talking about? I had eaten a steak 3 days before that. There was no transition. It was like, I am never eating animals again. And that was middle of September, almost 18 years ago. And I'm thriving, happier now. I mean, I'm in, my doctor says Alex and I are the healthiest patients she's ever seen. I run, lift weights, do yoga. My cholesterol numbers are that of a primate, which is what the physicians I follow say. You want to have primate level cholesterol numbers. And I eat low fat vegan diet with lots of fruits and vegetables, and I feel amazing. And it's a huge part of my mental health practice because I'm able to not put that darkness into my body, and a huge part of my Buddhist practice of actually following the Buddhist teachings on not killing and finding compassion for all beings. So I absolutely love it. And I'm really grateful that I've somehow woke up. It's crazy to think about. And, I've been able to talk about this with many people as my years as a personal trainer and my years as a park ranger. And the conditioning is so powerful. It's pretty incredible to see how blocked people are. And I was once in that place. So try to find compassion for people that are blocked. But we do live in the age of information. I was making fun of my sister as a vegetarian 30 years ago when we didn't know anything about the environmental crisis. We didn't know you had world record vegan athletes, and there weren't documentaries on Netflix about the environment and the athletes and the health benefits. Like, there is so much information out there now that you really have to, try to tune it out. And there's so much anti-vegan information out there that's just incredible insanity to listen to. So, I feel like in this day and age, it's easier now than ever to go vegan. There's more evidence, there's more facts, it's just so easy. And there's so many amazing food items out there. You can completely switch to a plant-based diet and not even miss any taste or texture. So there's no reason for people to be stuck, but they are. So that's why we're here today, Marikita, to inspire people and share our experience. So.
Well, sorry, I keep hearing noises in the background, but I'm sorry about that. So
No worries.
I love what you said about metta and sending the compassion to all. And somehow we get off. We get off on another track where we separate ourselves from all living beings, and we are not focused on that connectedness of life. So, and then we're really focused on our needs and how we're going to accomplish those, and we don't take a look at everything around us. Mm-hmm. Could you speak to that a little bit, Forrest?
Yeah, that's the conditioning of the human mind, is to, and so much of it is just what we're taught. We're taught to look out for number one and fend for yourself or whatever. We live in a dog eat dog world. It's a rat race, and you got to fight your way to the top of the hill. And my gosh. And that's the material realm. That's the living in the material realm, where it's selfish and self-centered. And the Buddha talks about sense desires are some of what he calls the 5 hindrances, and this craving for my own pleasure. And in Buddhism, there's a really beautiful teaching about the equal exchange of self and other, and seeing myself in the eyes of all beings, and exchanging my own needs for the needs of others, and seeing everything as being interconnected. And that's some of the teachings on interconnectedness and karma and emptiness in Buddhism are really beautiful. And it shows us that we're all part of one ecosystem, and the worms, turning the soil, creating oxygen that creates nutrients for the plants to grow, are just as important for the ecosystem as the water and the air and the nutrients. And, as a human being, I see, 9 billion humans on this planet as this is a problem. We're too many of us. And I talk in depth about this in my one of my talks on animal agriculture and the population explosion and everyone wanting to eat a hamburger. I mean, this is just so not sustainable. It's really crazy. But trying to find that connection with nature. And as a park ranger, I would get people from all over the world that would come out to the lighthouse. I'll talk about this at some point, I'm sure. And I would say, I don't care who you are or where you're from. I don't care what your background is, your political beliefs, your whatever practice ideology you have. Who does not love standing next to the mighty Pacific Ocean? We'd be standing next to the Golden Gate, the bay of the Golden Gate Bridge. Take a moment. Who doesn't love standing next to the mountains in Yosemite, or the trees on the Redwood Coast, or in the snow in Alaska? Who doesn't love nature, having that moment of awe and wonder? And that's what can bring us all back to caring for the nature that surrounds us, and waking up and putting our phones down and connecting with the moment. And I believe nature is the great equalizer, that it can bring us back as a species to care about all beings and to care about other beings as much as we care about ourselves. And I don't know if that capacity, I know that capacity is present in everybody, in all beings, but some beings are more blocked than others. So trying to wake up the people who are a little bit trying to wake up, and have people connect. I grew up in Texas, where I grew up in East Texas for a little while, where there was beautiful rolling hills and trees. And then I grew up in Arlington, which was kind of surrounded by the Metroplex. And it's very hard to connect with nature there. There's no ocean that's very accessible. There's no mountains. There's no majestic trees, not like I view in California. And there creates this really very much a disconnect from nature when you're living in a city with no nature to connect with. And one of the things, I read a book many years ago from Deepak Chopra, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, or is it the 6? I went like the 6. But he talks about connecting with nature every day. Even if you live in a busy city, go sit in a park next to a tree and connect with the nature. And that's such a huge and powerful and grounding practice. And it's a long-winded answer to tell you like how to do. One of the easiest steps to connect with others is to connect with nature, I think. And then we can do that. It gives us a moment to pause and connect with our breath and be in that moment of awe and wonder with nature. So.
Well, that's beautiful. No, I love what you said about the soil and the earthworms, because I was doing a speech at the animal ministry and outside of the labyrinth, and talking about all the living organisms underneath the soil and how blessed we are to sit in this beautiful circle of nature with the trees supporting us and all of life. How amazing it is. And it's so interesting that it's really sad that so many people are disconnected and don't go outside, or they might just go outside when they go to their car and get back in, and that's it. They're not experiencing this profoundness of all living beings, the leaves and each tiny little seed and each little pebble, and how beautiful that is. There's so much out there to explore in the world. And I was just thinking the other day, I was talking to a friend about, I think that about traveling and soul travel. And for me, I want to travel with souls. This soul connection is so important. And that can be simply with the soul of a tree. When I put my hand on a tree, right? That soul connection, to really feel what that tree, to feel who that tree is as a living being, and to honor that beautiful presence. And this is something that's so profound. And like you're saying, connecting with nature brings us back to connecting with all living beings.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm feeling you. I'm a tree hugger. I mean, I have so many pictures of me in the redwood forest hugging trees, like, and I have this would be a good screenshot or something. I'm on a tree that is like 3 times as wide as my arm stretched out, Um, so yeah, I feel that connecting with nature, I love the trees. That was one of my first things I started to awaken to was in nature was the trees. So yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Well, I love it too. It's exciting. I like to go forest bathing and be outside and put my feet in the water and really just sit there in the quietness. I mean, it's so restoring. So I have a lot of energy, and that's one way that I can ground myself, pull that energy back in. I really need
Absolutely.
nature to do that.
Yes, I feel the same way. It's very grounded, very peaceful. I just love, one of the things we've been able to do as a park ranger. I worked 6 months on, 6 months off, and we live in a van. So in our 6 months off, we would travel, and we've been to like, I can't remember, it's like 30 different national parks and seen these places that I always wanted to go see. And my family has always wanted to go see, but never made it. So many people say, oh, I want to go see, Utah, for example. And like, before they know it, they never made it. And, I have a lot of highly educated people in my family, and they got their degrees, but they were busy working their whole family, their whole life, and they never got to go see those places. So I'm like stoked that I was able to I'm like able to say, all those places that my family members wanted to go see that they never made it to. I've been there. I got to go to Utah, and I still have more places to go. I love being in nature, but being in Death Valley or California is just incredible to me, to go from the lowest point in Death Valley up to the biggest trees in Sequoia, and then go through Yosemite Valley and then Lake Tahoe. And then I love the coast, like Pismo Beach. The Central Coast is heaven. And man, the Redwood Coast, if you guys haven't been to Redwood National Park and the Northern California Redwood Coast, is just, there's something so magical in the smell of saltwater air mixing with a redwood forest. That smell. We used to live in Mill Valley, and I drive over Mount Tam and down into Stinson Beach, and there's a spot right where the redwood trees and the ocean air meet. And I do get chills right now just thinking about that. It's just a magical experience, and just so much vibrancy in that environment, So I love it. Beautiful.
That is amazing. The traveling and the connection with nature. So you're traveling to see different parts of nature and connecting with all of our beautiful planet.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Van life is cool. There's like, the guy that wrote the book Homo Sapiens. No, not, it's just Sapiens. He's vegan. I can't remember his full name. It's a very famous book, Sapiens, but there's a whole part in there about how we evolved as nomadic people. We would follow the weather systems and stay away from bad weather. And as soon as we stopped being nomadic and started planting roots, there was more and more health issues arose, and mental health issues, because being stuck in one spot isn't how we evolve. So I love being in a van because, especially, we're all becoming climate refugees in this age of fire and floods and extremes, and like being able to leave when there's an environmental catastrophe. And that's how we got into van life. We were living in Northern California during those drought years with the fires year after year, and we were having to escape the smoke. And we spent 10 days with no electricity. The grocery stores had ran out of food. They told us to pack a go bag. We were living in horrible smoke that's so toxic for your lungs, and no electricity. And you'd hear sirens going off here and there, and you could smell smoke blowing in, and you never knew if your neighborhood was burning down. I'm like, I cannot live like this. This is not healthy. So that's how we first got into van life, was to be able to escape the smoke in Northern California. So it's been cool to be able to do that. So,
And van life, is that on social media?
yeah, I mean, it's a whole big thing. It really exploded during the pandemic, but being, nomadic, you could just look up van life on YouTube. It's crazy. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos, and it's a whole lifestyle, especially digital nomads. Like, now that I'm fully remote, as a digital nomad, I can, get satellite internet on the van and go wherever I want. We've been meeting people doing this for years. There's so many remote jobs now. People we're like in Big Bend National Park, beautiful place in Texas, and there's like people down there like doing remote work, at the campground where there's no cell service for 100 miles, and they're just down there doing their job, looking at mountains while they're working. It's just opened up a whole world. So and being able to like travel with the weather. Like I used to get very depressed living in Northern California in the winter. It's not even as bad as Seattle or whatever, but we'd have 2 or 3 weeks of rain with no sunshine and moldy, wet weather and getting sick. And I would look at the weather in Tucson and be like, I want to be in the desert. So we go to the desert during the winter. We spent a month in the desert last winter in near Kofa National Wildlife Refuge. We went to a vegan meetup. For anyone that might be on the live stream that's interested, you could check out Rolling Vegan Rendezvous. It's an Instagram page, also on Facebook. They do meetups every year in the Arizona desert. We had like 30 people hanging out, mostly vegan, but some plant-based people, some veg curious people. And we had potlucks every night and different presentations each day about different ways to be nomadic. And I got to give my ranger talk to everyone there. It's the talk I'm going to give at VCOP this weekend. There's just a whole community out there, and you instantly make friends with people when you're on the road like that. So it's been really cool.
That's exciting. Okay, so let me just say hello to everybody that's watching. Thanks for joining us. I see JJ and Lois and TS672. Thanks for watching. Let us know where you're joining from and if you have any questions. So Forrest, I can imagine how beautiful this is. I mean, your wife and you have such a wonderful connection, and then being able to take that connection into Mother Earth. I mean, tell us about that.
Yeah, I've been with my wife. We met in Venice Beach at the gym in 2000. I was a personal trainer, and she came into the gym, and my head was spinning, and I'm like, that's the woman I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. So I had one of those instant cosmic connections when I saw her, and that's never happened to me before. And we just celebrated our 22nd wedding anniversary. She's also vegan. I think she's on. I don't know I didn't hear you mention her name, but she said she was getting on. So she's a beautiful spiritual being and such a powerful part of my transformation. We just love nature, and we love being able to travel in our van, and she's into spirituality as much as I am. She's not as geeked out on Buddhism as I am. I love lists and numbers, and I love the Buddhist teachings because there's so many lists. It's very easy to follow. Like there's nothing confusing here. It's written down with numbers next to it. You just follow these numbers and you find happiness. It's like, whoa, that's simple, and let's do this list, do that list. I love lists. I'm a list maker anyway, and so, but we both have a deep love for animals and nature, and being able to experience that in our van has been amazing. And she is a very powerful, beautiful spiritual creature. And I love my wife so much. We've been through a lot together, and we say that all the time. We've been through a lot together. So, she says I'm on. So I see she's, hi, sweetie. And, and she was actually integral in helping me kind of like broaden my horizons and land the job with the solar energy job when I worked as a solar energy sales rep, and then also with the job I have now. She was encouraging me to take a leap of faith and work for Dharma Voices for Animals. So I definitely want to talk about DVA. I'm here representing DVA. So
yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. What is DVA?
All right. Yeah. So Dharma Voices for Animals. So I first heard about Dharma Voices for Animals. For anyone that's on that is interested in a meditation group, I heard about it through Vegan Meditation. You can find them on Meetup. They meet every every Monday night. It's a vegan meditation group hosted by Dave Simon. He's the author of Meatonomics. And I was there, and I was talking about how I love Buddhism and meditation, but I have a hard time because so many Buddhist sanghas are filled with meat eaters and want to argue about animals and compassion. And someone said, you should check out Dharma Voices for Animals. So I found out about them. Then I started going to the Dharma Voices for Animals monthly sangha, which is every last Sunday of every month. So anyone that would like to check that out, you could look up dharmavoicesforanimals.org. It's a great thing, even if you're not Buddhist. It's an animal activist sangha, which just allows vegan activists, Buddhists that are vegan, whatever, people that are curious about veganism or Buddhism, a place to come together, and we're guided meditation, usually by the executive director of Dharma Voices for Animals, Bhante Sathe. He's a Theravadan Buddhist monk, and he'll do a guided meditation with metta. They also have other speakers come on, or sometimes just a member of the community will lead the meditation. But anyway, Dharma Voices for Animals is a international Buddhist organization that works for the benefit of animals as an animal advocacy organization with really large operations overseas and in the US. We just had a really great success in Thailand. We have project directors in each country, and a project director just posted a video how so many Buddhist monks in Thailand are suffering from health issues because one of the traditions in Buddhism is you, as a monk, is you take what is offered. They have an alms bowl, and they take what is offered. So whatever the community is offering them is what they eat. Even if a monk might not want to eat something, this is what he's offered, and a practice of humility is just to take what he's offered. So they're raising awareness around the health issues that the monks are suffering from, and they've had great success in a couple big centers there where they're switching the meals to completely plant-based meals a couple days a week, and they're raising awareness in the communities that the monks are having health issues, and the monks want vegan food. So we also have operations in Sri Lanka and Vietnam. DVA has had outstanding success with working on specific issues with, for example, dog meat industry in Vietnam. And most of the monks in Vietnam are vegan, and they're working towards protecting the animals. And there's been many animal welfare laws in Sri Lanka that have been passed. So DVA works worldwide to really help animals and to be a voice in the Buddhist community for the animals. And there are a lot of options here in the United States too. My job as the U.S. project director is I've created what's called the Sustainable Sangha Project.
Can I ask you a question? What does
Yes.
Sangha mean? Sangha.
A Sangha is just a community. It's kind of a word in Buddhism for like group, or a group of like-minded individuals. I believe it's a Sanskrit word, and it just kind of means it's a group. So a Sangha would be, it could, like a temple could be a Sangha, or a church could be a Sangha, or just a group of 4 people sitting together. You and I and the people on this live stream right now, we're a Sangha. So it's a group of people coming together, whether large or small. So yeah, I've created a project, kind of an evolution of what was already in DVA, the Sustainable Sangha Project, which I'm reaching out to Buddhist centers, particularly places that serve meals and have retreats, and offering them information and resources, offering them a talk about the environmental impact of animal agriculture and what is our legacy going to be, and raising awareness around the Buddhist teachings on compassion for all beings, raising awareness around the impact of animal agriculture, bringing Buddhist ethics into awareness of what's happening in the modern world. And even if you're not a Buddhist, what's happening in the modern world is completely tragic. What's happening to the environment right now. And there's such simple solutions to solve this problem, and the stubbornness is what's heartbreaking. But my goal with the Sustainable Sangha Project is to convert, maybe not convert's the right word, but to bring people into a more plant-based menu, and changing the menus at many of these retreat centers to more plant-based. And there's examples of meditation retreat centers that used to be mostly, if not all, omnivorous, that slowly transitioned to vegetarian and then made the switch to completely plant-based. And it's a great thing because Buddhist centers many times are promoting sustainability, and the most sustainable food choices we can make are to eat plants. And
so how do the conversations go with those people?
It's often met with stubbornness, but there's often people are very interested. And when you speak of sustainability, that's a very hot topic right now, and people are aware of the environmental crisis. And Buddhist centers feel good to offer food. They're not trying to change their visitors or their members necessarily. Even they're just saying, hey, this is what we're offering while you're here. And most people are open-minded to that and happy to try something different. Especially, it's amazing and delicious. And we have, tons of resources. We have menus, and we work with an organization that helps people transition to a plant-based menu. And we have We're offering grants to centers to help transfer their kitchen from, a non plant-based to a plant-based vegan kitchen. So, but it's definitely a work in progress. There's a lot. I've only been on the job since March, and we're rolling this out right now. So it's brand new. And the motto of the project is one bowl, one earth. So I mentioned the alms bowl. So we have one bowl, one earth. We're all on this planet together. And we're going to recognize Buddhist centers based on how many plant-based offerings they're offering per week, with different levels of recognition. So they could put a little plaque in the window and say, hey, we're practicing sustainability here, working with Dharma Voices for Animals, part of the One Bowl, One Earth Sustainable Sangha Project. This center is working towards sustainability by the food we're offering to you while you visit. So something simple like that. And, these things have a ripple effect. And when people find out really what's happening and stop buying into animal agriculture's billion-dollar misinformation campaigns that keep people believing that, these regenerative tactics of making people try to feel better about regenerative farming, and when the simple fact is we're just destroying the earth and starving starving so many people and slaughtering so many animals so that people can continue to eat animal products it is beyond tragic. And some days it's overwhelming. It's always overwhelming. Some days it's really heavy on my mind. So I'm happy that I get to be a voice and try to change the direction of how some people might be thinking. So.
Right. And what would you tell someone that is struggling at night to sleep and very depressed? Someone that is a new vegan and family won't listen to them and they just feel like they're very isolated. What would you say to that person?
Well, for me, I've really struggled with the darkness, and I really have struggled, as a vegan for 17 years. I've struggled with being around people who want to make fun of me and judge me and act like I'm the weirdo, and so I'll put a plug in again for Dharma Voices for Animals, for our meditation group. Finding like-minded people is the key. When I went to that vegan meetup last January, it was so amazing being around 30 vegans, and I hadn't been around that many vegans in a while, and having everybody just embrace me and love me for who I am, and having people look at me and say, you're a vegan, I'm a vegan, give me a hug. And like instantly, like everything else is put to the side. Like we have this deep connection and we believe in this thing. And, I want to say being in the monthly meditation sangha has been so powerful for me with being at the vegan meditation group with Dharma Voices for Animals. So once again, it's dharmavoicesforanimals.org. I do also want to say, like, the animals need you. If you're on this live stream right now, we need help. The animals need you. We are doing amazing work, but this work is only possible through the donation. We're a nonprofit. Everybody here works mostly because they love this project so much. It's funny. I used to have these high pressure, high sales jobs, and I made a bunch of money and was miserable. And then, as I've been, a personal trainer, then a park ranger, and now a nonprofit worker, like, you have to love what you do. And we don't make a bunch of money in this. This thing is not about making money. This is about helping animals, but it's not possible without people donating. So if you can go on to DVA, if you have the capacity to even be a $5 per month, it's the cost of one latte. And the work that we do worldwide is amazing. It's good karma to help others and to help the animals. So I just want to plug, like, if you can help DVA, we would love your support. So, and Buddhism for me has been such a powerful part of my mental health. Waking up each morning and knowing what's happening to billions of animals on this planet is just, whew. I see why people want to keep, if you've seen The Matrix, I see why people want to be stuck in the Matrix. Like, knowing the truth is overwhelming. But being in the Matrix and suffering from sense desires and cravings and cognitive dissonance, knowing in the back of my mind, I am part of the problem. I don't want to think about the problem. I want to pretend it's not there. I want to pretend it's too complicated. The suffering that follows that darkness is much, much more than being aware and awake and not being stuck in the Matrix. But I need Buddhism, and I need this practice of compassion. I need this practice of metta. I need a practice of simply learning how to stop and learn how to breathe to deal with the darkness and to take my stand and to be never, ever even slightly confused, to ever lose the conviction that what I am doing is the most powerful thing I can do as a being on this planet. As a human who we claim to be the most evolved species on this planet. We claim to be in the image and likeness of our creator, many people do. But what we do is completely the antithesis of spirituality. When we're a destroyer, when we're the apex predator, we need to evolve into becoming the apex caretaker. You know, they talk about dominion in some of these religions. I believe, whatever you want to say, God gave us dominion to take care of this planet, not to have dominion, which means we can destroy this planet and destroy the lives of all of these beautiful beings that live here with us. So Buddhism for me has been so powerful to give me a practice that really can ground me and keep me out of the darkness, because I found the spiritual life through suffering. I was suffering massively, chasing money, chasing whatever sort of prosperity, money, property, and prestige. I suffered horribly while I was eating animals. I had horrible nightmares, violent nightmares all my life. And as soon as I woke up and switched, my dreams changed. I literally used to have dreams of zombies chopping me to pieces. Now, I also grew up in the 80s watching horror movies. Oh my God. And eating animals and addicted to this violent hunting and fishing and eating animals, and just a very violent, like most people, living in violence, watching horror movies. I had horrible nightmares, and I switched to a plant-based vegan, not a plant, I switched to vegan, ethical vegan lifestyle. And I started having dreams about being near people and talking to people. And then I would start levitating in my dreams. I was having dreams of floating through earth, flying. Like that's the transition I had. I immediately, my anxiety levels dropped. I started sleeping better as soon as I stopped eating animals. It was so amazing. And I have struggled with suicidal ideation all through my childhood and high school. And as soon as I switched, I stopped having those suicidal thoughts. And like, I've had dark days in the last 17 years, which is why I continue to practice my practice. But I don't live in that violent realm anymore. I've stopped living in that realm. I live in a different realm now, a completely different realm than I used to. And my first spiritual teacher, first met this man 25 years ago. And he pulled me out of the darkness, and he said so many beautiful things. And he was the one that married my wife and I when we got married in the Central Coast of California. He taught me something that I hold on to and I share and I think about a lot. And it really helps me. And if there's one spiritual teaching from this man I could pass on and share with others, it's this. His theory, and I completely believe this, is that the earth is literally the nut house for all the other galaxies in the cosmos. And they send the sickest, most violent people to Earth, to the psych ward, which is where we are, the psych ward. And if you come here and you do your work and you wake up and you learn how to be loving and carry that love to all beings, you get to go home to a happier place. This guy was vegan when I met him. He'd been vegan for 45 years when he passed away. He was a Vietnam vet who had been homeless. He was on a road trip after he got back from Vietnam, and he saw the cows on I-5 living in confined areas in the 70s. This has been happening forever. People talk about factory farming as something that he saw those cows suffering in tight space with no grass, and he vowed to never eat an animal again. And he lived that life, and he helped me wake up. But yeah, so the earth is a nut house for all the other galaxies. And if you come here and you get to do your work, we're doing our work right now, trying to help others. We get to go home to a happier place. And that has helped me so much to think about this, because I do believe in the cosmos and I love astronomy and thinking about other life forms out there and who are we and what's happening. We're on a tiny little speck of blue dust in this vast infinite cosmos, and getting wrapped up into the human realm and the material realm here is so pointless. And there's so much beauty in the world and in the cosmos. And so I love that story, and I like to share that story, think about that a lot. So
That's beautiful. So what other memorable vegan stories do you have about, I don't know, possibly people hearing your talks at the lighthouse, or is there anything that stands out?
Yeah, I think you did ask me. So how do, I think just, I don't know if I even answered your question. Maybe I did, but to the people who are new and who are struggling, find like-minded people. Go to other meetings on Meetup. And if you live in an area, if you're lucky enough to live in an area where there's a lot of vegan vibe, you can go check that out. There's meetups. I mean, it is incredible. Go to vegan restaurants. You'll meet people there. I mean, we were watching this vegan cooking challenge on Jaina Unchained TV, and there's Columbus, Ohio. There's a vegan restaurant. I looked it up. There's 30 vegan restaurants in Columbus, Ohio. 35 vegan restaurants in Cincinnati. 25 in Chicago. 50 in LA. 60 in Portland. Like, go to these places and meet people. And if you're in the middle of nowhere, meet people online and find a practice that can help you stand strong. I firmly believe that had I not watched Earthlings early on, I would not have experienced the trauma that is necessary to have the conviction to never, ever question if veganism is the right path for me. I have never cried as hard as I did when I watched Earthlings. It's available on YouTube. It is horrifically painful to watch, but if you don't see it, that's why you see these people on YouTube, ex-vegans. You're never an ex-vegan. You might have been a plant-based person who was trying a different diet. So many of these people are extremists. Like one of these guys, he was a famous parkour guy. He became vegan after this whole thing, and then he started drinking his urine, and then he stopped drinking his urine and was staring at the sun for his nutrients. He developed all kinds of deficiencies and blamed it on veganism, and then became a carnivore and said carnivore was the way to go. These are just extreme personality types that they're never in it for the ethical reason. They're in it for Instagram or for a plant-based fad. There's no such thing as an ex-vegan. If you're a vegan, you have the ethical clarity to never want to waver, and you don't give in. If you give in, I'm sorry, you were never an ethical vegan, because you can't see these things and then say, oh, they're okay, and be a vegan. A vegan is someone who sees these things and stands against them forever, which is how I will be till the day I die. And I feel amazing, as I said earlier. So connecting with other people is a powerful thing to do, and finding community, being around like-minded people. And as far as vegan stories, I mean, I think, some of my favorite things have been just being an example. I was a personal trainer for 14 years, and I would hold the vegan card close to my chest and let my, fitness and my physique do the talking. And people would say, hey, what do you do, man? You're in good shape. And, I'd say, oh, I don't eat animals. I've been vegan for this long. And they'd be like, what? You can't be vegan. And I would get into because I'm convicted and I'm educated. I'd watch all the nutrition information. I know nutrition, and I know nutrition science, and I know the lies. I know all of the things to come back to about eggs and dairy and soy and all of that. I'm educated. So when someone wants to have a conversation with me, I'm fully prepared. People don't want to have conversations more often. If they do, it goes illogical. But some of my favorite vegan moments are having like a guy who is a hardcore paleo watch Dr. Greger and become vegan, and he is still vegan, this guy, and his one of his sons became vegan. And I have no idea what ripple effect that had, and who else might be. Some of my favorite memories are working with Anonymous for the Voiceless. My wife and I were chapter organizers. If anyone hasn't heard of Anonymous for the Voiceless, that's a great way. Become an activist. If you want to connect with people who are like you, find your local activist group. We the Free is another great activist group. Anonymous for the Voiceless. We were chapter organizers in Marin County and had a cube of truth every Thursday night at the farmers market for a couple years during the summer when they had the farmers market. And we have TVs that are set up showing slaughterhouse footage, and people walk by and don't want to see it. People walk by and stop and see it and ask questions. And, what is this? I'm like, well, what do you think this is? We use the Socratic method of questioning. How does this make you feel? Does that animal have feelings? Do you think we should be doing this? And ask people questions. And those are probably one of my favorite vegan memories, are like having people stop and ask questions. And We were there 1 year, and this guy came back, him and his wife. Where's Forrest and Alex? Where's Forrest and Alex? I thought it was the cops or somebody, you know. And this guy came up to me and said, we were here 1 year ago, and we were already thinking about this, and we met you guys, and you inspired us, and we watched the videos you told us to watch, and I've been vegan for a year, and he was like in his 60s. He's a master's level elite swimmer competing at nationals and set all of these records as a vegan that year, and had a picture of himself with all of these medals that he won as a vegan athlete in his 60s at a national swimming competition. Some of my favorite memories, you know. And you mentioned the lighthouse. I was an interpretive park ranger at the lighthouse, and interpretive park rangers are the ones that swear in the little kids to be park rangers and get to tell the stories. And I worked up the courage to tell the story about animal agriculture, and got the clearance from the park superintendents to talk about the United Nations report on switching to plant-based. So people would come down to the lighthouse, and I would tell them the history of the lighthouse and what had happened to the seals and the whales and the redwood trees in the area. And what were people thinking in the 1800s? How could they destroy the earth like this? Now, what are we doing now? This is what they did. What are we doing? And I would present the reality of what's happening with animal agriculture and land use, and what we're doing to the earth, and how many people are starving, and how many animals are being slaughtered, and how much land we're using. And we have a simple solution, and it's agreed upon by all of the top scientists and all of the top colleges and all of the top doctors, and the United Nations and countries are on board doing this. And here's the information, and we can feed 14 times as many people on a plant-based diet. And this is how much land we can save. We can literally stop this problem today. 25,000 people die each day of starvation and hunger-related issues on Earth. Every 60 seconds, humans are dying while we feed animals that never miss a meal, and then we slaughter those animals. It takes 16 pounds of crops for 1 pound of meat. We can totally change the system so easily to solve these problems, to solve world hunger, to solve animal suffering, to solve the environmental destruction, by simply making a passive decision when we go to the grocery store and buying oat milk, almond milk, cashew milk, soy milk, whatever, instead of dairy, buying Beyond Burger instead of a meat burger, buying lentils and quinoa instead of buying an animal product. It's so simple. It's all there. And these products, the basic products, are way less expensive than the animal products. Beef is breaking records for cost right now. Beyond Burgers are cheaper. I've ran the numbers. So the change is so simple and so easy. So I would give that talk and get people inspired. And it's funny, like 80% of people would walk off huffing and puffing. I didn't want to hear this at the lighthouse. And you know, 10% of people would be like, that's interesting. I might think about this. And then the other 10% of people said, you know, I'm either on board, I've been doing this, or I've been thinking about this, and my daughter was just telling me about this, and now I'm hearing it from a park ranger. I'm doing it, you know? So I have no idea how many people left there inspired to make a change. You know, I have no idea. One day these people stormed off, and my wife was on the other side of the bridge when they left the lighthouse, and I thought they were mad at me. And she said that those people said that was the best environmental talk they'd ever heard, and they were going to make a change today. So even people I thought I upset, I don't know, you know, so that was crazy. So now I'm getting to do this with Dharma Voices for Animals. It's even more in alignment, because as a park ranger talking about being plant-based, I was not popular. I got recognition for giving this talk, and I got awards from the superintendent and awards from the National Park Service climate change team. But at the local park, nobody wanted to hear this. Nobody came to hear my talk. Rangers would walk away from me in the middle of my talk. And it was crazy. You would think that like this would be, you know, something people told me the word plant-based is triggering for them in the Park Service. So we take a vow as park rangers to protect all the animals, and people would go there. And this is, you know, you go to Rocky Mountain National Park, you go there and people look at the elk and, oh my God, they're so amazing. And then they go eat elk burgers. Wow, my God, how can you look at this majestic animal and then want to go eat one? And that's carnism, you know, that is carnism. Speaking of support, Melanie Joy has a website called Beyond Carnism. She has a YouTube series called The Center for Effective Vegan Activism. I highly recommend it if you're struggling as a vegan. I'm a little more black and white sometimes, a little more abolitionist of an approach. But that sometimes causes mental health issues to be so black and white and think of heroes and victims and perpetrators. She has a nice approach that's a little softer than sometimes I like to be, but it has helped me relax sometimes, and also helped me see clearly with my family, like, what can I do here to try to improve this dynamic with my family? Because family is the hardest. I just heard Gary Yourofsky say, he's one of the most famous vegan activists ever, and he's in some conflict right now, I think, because of some of his stances, but he said he's helped animals for years, but he has never had a family member listen to him or change. And this is a guy who's changed so many people, and he can't even get through to his own family. So it's crazy how stubborn it can be with family. So
yeah, that's very true. And families, like, I just let family go. Luckily, I do have family members that are vegan, so that's a tremendous blessing.
mm-hmm.
So I want to show. We've got. Well, let's see. We also have Samara saying that. I got that. That's Dharma Voices for Animals, right? She's saying,
oh yes, Dharma Voices for Animals. We have a YouTube channel. We do our monthly meditation is posted on there often. We have different Dharma talks from different teachers. I have a couple of my talks that I was able to give at a place in Santa Cruz are on there. We also have an Instagram page, Dharma Voices for the number 4 animals. And that is where we have, regular posts on there as well. So yeah, you could follow us along in either of those places. And for anyone that might have came in late, like I said earlier, like, we are a nonprofit. We need your help. We're literally working to help millions of animals. Like, I told stories about what's happening in Vietnam with the dog meat trade, and in Thailand and other countries, helping monks have more plant-based food offerings. This message needs to get out there. I'm trying to travel to the Pacific Northwest to visit different Buddhist centers. These things are only possible through the donations of members. So if you can help out, we have monthly donors. It can be $5 a month or a one-time donor, anything you can do to help out with our mission. If you're a vegan, this is a place where we literally work every day, all day, to help animals. And I donate to Dharma Voices for Animals. I donate to a couple of my favorite vegan activists, Joey Carbstrong and Mel and Steve. And I donate to them just because it feels good. Like, I listen to their talks. I love what they do. And I don't give a bunch, but I give something that helps me feel good, And I mean, going to get coffee is $5. So donating to these people, it feels good to do that. It's a good way to pay it forward. We're donating to Sea Sanctuary. Sea Shepherd, for a while, and then we started donating to Paul Watson. So anyway, there's great things. And I really believe in what DVA is doing. What I like about working for DVA is that there's this kind of term, low-hanging fruit. And people who are out there in the material world, who are full-blown carnists, they can't even fathom the idea of compassion for animals. In fact, you see videos on YouTube of people shooting animals from helicopters, and people love it and laugh about it. It's like, oh my gosh. I think of Buddhists as people who are already on the path to awakening, and they just need to hear this message and hear it clearly. So that's one reason why I'm so passionate about DVA, is because we have an audience who has ears that are in tune to this message. They have heard about compassion, but they've also been misinformed by Buddhist teachers that you can't eat meat and it's okay. We don't believe it is okay. We believe you can thrive as a vegan, and that eating animals should be not an option. So carrying that message to Buddhists is kind of like carrying it to low-hanging fruit, especially in Asian countries. They're much more inclined to be vegetarian naturally. So we can change them from thinking vegetarian, because there's so much suffering that goes into vegetarian food. Oh my gosh, the chickens suffer more than any animal on the planet. They just suffer horribly. And they have very short lifespan, and they just suffer when they lay eggs, and then they're slaughtered for food. So eating eggs is cruel, and dairy cows suffer horrifically as well. What they go through, there's more suffering in a glass of milk than in a steak. These cows that live for steak live for a year and suffer, and then they're slaughtered. Cows that live for dairy suffer for 5 or 6 years in horrible confinement, where they're re-impregnated and their babies are taken from them, and they suffer producing milk for us because the babies don't get it until they can stop not producing as much. Then they're sent for hamburger. I mean, it is just tragic to think about what these animals go through. So vegetarian is not a solution. It's not a healthy solution. You're filling your arteries with glue, with dairy and eggs. So making the full switch to vegan is the most ethical and healthy thing you can do for yourself, for the animals, and for the planet. So, yeah, I'm not sure what other questions you had for me, Radhikita. Like I said, I like to talk, so I'm getting going.
Well, I see we're getting to coming to the end, but I did want to talk about a little bit. I mean, I just wanted to show some comments, and please remember to please go to www.all-creatures.org if you want to make a one-time or a reoccurring donation, and to all these great places, the Dharma Voices for Animals and all the ones that you mentioned, Forrest. And let me show this comment that we've got. When we consume violence, it comes out in other ways in our lives.
Thank you for sharing that. TS Stick 72.
Mm-hmm. And look.
Oh, that's right on. They're an organizer in the state. Hey, I have 72 on my sign in on YouTube also. I was born in 1972. I don't know if maybe you just like the number 72 or you're born the same year as me, maybe. But thank you for being an organizer for Anonymous for the Voiceless. And yeah, we're literally conditioned in such a violent world to watch violence, to ingest violence, to eat, sleep, drink violence. We're staying with some friends that have kids right now. We watched the Mario Brothers movie, the Mario Brothers cartoon, and the fighting sequence in Mario Brothers was the identical fighting sequence from Thor, from Marvel, the Marvel movies, where the Incredible Hulk and Thor got into a battle, and the Incredible Hulk jumped a mile high and came down and slammed into Thor. I mean, that's literally what Donkey Kong was doing to Mario. And I was like, how can this level of violence? And it's comical, you know? I mean, we're conditioning kids at such a young age to violence and watching violence. And I grew up in that, you know, and in Buddhism and Eastern teachings, ahimsa is the practice of nonviolence. And in Buddhism, we have the precepts, pre meaning the beginning. This is the foundation. The Buddha taught the 5 precepts for all lay people. This is what you do to just begin your foundation before you begin studying the 4 Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path and the more advanced teachings in Buddhism. And the first precept is no killing. All beings fear death. All beings love life. Therefore, one should not kill nor cause to kill. Is there any confusion? How can that be misinterpreted? Therefore, one should not kill nor cause to kill. So yes, thank you for sharing that. Violence shows up in other ways in our life. It's just a way we are conditioned. I mean, I grew up watching horror movies and eating animal products and having nightmares. I mean, having mental health issues. I mean, every time we watch a violent movie, you know, this puts a scar on our psyche. And I'm permanently scarred from watching Earthlings, and that scar will never go away. And because that scar will never go away, I will never not read the list of ingredients. I will never eat an animal product. I will never support the system that abuses and creates violence towards animals because I've seen the truth. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So, right. All right, Tanya. And yeah, born in 72, sticks. Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Tanya, right on. Good year. Lots of good things happened in 1972. I share about those as a park ranger. The Marine Mammal Protection Act happened in 1972. They banned DDT in 1972, which helped protect all the animals and the eagles and all the animals that were dying from a toxic chemical. And the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, where I worked as a park ranger, was formed in 1972. So I was working there when I and the Golden Gate National Recreation Area had our 50th birthday. So 72 is a good one. So
that's wonderful. Yes, thanks for sharing your name, Tanya. And I want to thank everybody for watching. And please subscribe, y'all. And I see that we were talking about Sea Shepherd, and Tanya saying that that's now Captain Paul Watson Foundation. And I was so blessed. I had a conversation with him a few months ago, so check that out if you missed it. But now we want to make sure that we talk about, invite everybody to VCOP this weekend. The Vegan Convergence of the People, number 22, is going on this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And you want to go to climatehealers.org to register. Now, if you register before Friday, which is today, I don't know if it's too late for the cutoff. I mean, you still can register. There'll be a little fee, but go ahead and register for that because Forrest is speaking and I'm speaking too. So you want to catch our presentations, Forrest. When are you speaking? Is it Sunday?
I'm speaking Sunday. It's at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, great.
And yes, so I'm going to give a talk on the what is our legacy going to be. I told you a little bit about it, telling the history of the lighthouse, and then evolving into some Buddhism, but also really talking about what's happening on the earth right now. And it's cool. As a park ranger, they trained us on how to do the arc of dialogue and how to bring people in emotionally and give them information that's inspiring. So I use all of that training in my talk, and I try to inspire people. My Instagram, for anyone that needs vegan support or wants to just connect, my first name is Forrest with 2 R's. My Instagram handle is Forrest_for_the_trees. And that has many different meanings to me. I'm an environmental lover. I love the trees, forest for the trees. But in Buddhism, we often miss the beauty of the simplicity because we're looking at the problem here. So forest for the trees is a great old saying that I've heard my whole life. And it's a funny part of my childhood. People would always call me forest for the trees, and I never knew what it meant. And I was too much of a know-it-all kid to ever ask. And I didn't find out till I was in my 30s what the thing actually meant, forest for the trees. So anyway, in case you don't know, don't miss the beauty of the forest for some of the ugliness of a few of the trees. Look at the big picture and see the big picture. And it's a great symbolism in Buddhism also. So anyway, Forrest_for_the_trees is my page, my Instagram. I'm not very active on there, but I do go on and post vegan stuff here and there. So anyway, just wanted to share that. And the VCOP, there's a link to the VCOP registration on my page. It's linked on there. We could also, I'm sure you could put it in.
ClimateHealers.org, go to VCOP.
Yeah, ClimateHealers.org. Great organization. Climate Healers is we're crossing thresholds in 2026 that if we don't go vegan before 2026, we're affecting a tumbling experience that's a domino effect that's going to be tragic outcomes. And I talk about that too in my talk with the Limits to Growth from 1972. Another thing that came out in 1972. So.
All right. And your wife is going to be coming on here, Alex, later.
Yes. Yeah. And my wife's Instagram handle is Chiquita Vegana, CHIQUITA_Vegana, for anyone that wants to connect with us.
Yes.
Yeah. My wife is going to be coming on talking about vegan power also with Mariquita before long. So I'm excited for everyone to get to meet her.
I'm excited too. And this has been wonderful. I could talk all day, but I want to just, unfortunately, I guess we need to end it sometime. So I have some sort of boundary here, but okay. So if you liked this, then definitely come see us at VCOP 22, climatehealers.org. And then make sure you check out all of Forrest's links, Dharma Voices for Animals, and the Instagram. And what's your final words, Forrest?
Final words are like, if you're new on the path, welcome, connect with others. If you've been on the path, stay on the path, keep carrying the message. And the biggest thing I believe is that, with Buddhism and what we're taught is to radiate love. And metta, if you haven't found a metta meditation practice, it's METTA. You can find a metta meditation practice. And metta is about the methodical radiation of love from your heart out to all beings. So maybe right before we get off, let's all just pause for 1 second. Picture a bright light coming in through our deep breath. And then as we exhale, think about radiating bright light out to the end of the cosmos, to all beings. And the love that I have in my heart goes to all beings, even beings I might hate because of what they're doing and their political views and their violence towards animals. The only thing I can do is send love to them. My first teacher, I was really upset, and I was hoping that I was sending negativity to people. And this is 20 years ago, and I was really angry. And he told me, if you send hate to these people, you give them fuel for their fire. If you send them love, love extinguishes hate, and it puts out their fire for fueling more hatred. So send them love. So if we could all just be loving vegans, it's not easy. I know I struggle with anger, but to send love. So find a metta practice and send love out, and come to DVA, check it out, do our meditation, donate if you can, and get on the path with us. So we're grateful you're here. So thank you all. Thank you, Mariquita. Thank you everyone for coming. And may all beings be free. That's what we say in Buddhism. may all be free. May they be free from suffering. May they be at peace, and may they be happy. So thank you for letting me come today. And thank you, and hope we'll see you all Sunday at the VCOP.
Yes, we'll see everyone Sunday. Thanks everybody for watching, and everyone be blessed. Thank you so much, Forrest.
Thank you.